Good morning, everybody. Top of the morning to all of you.
Good morning.
Teresa looking good in that powder blue. Very
And the
pretty.
braids. Don't forget the braids. Thank you.
Keith, if I was going to have let me give it a thought for a moment here. What is it when you have your foreskin removed? Anyone?
What's that?
Oh my.
Circumcision.
Circumcision.
There's circumcision. That's it.
If I was going to have a circumcision today, I'd want Keith to do it. He's looking real relaxed. Especially if we were going down a bumpy road, Keith. I'd want you all over that.
You threw me off on the circumcision.
It's Monday morning.
Nothing like getting started with a circumcision, huh?
I guess so.
Gotta laugh, you guys. Look,
gotta have that.
I never once have read the Bible in my life. I've read aspects of it, pages of it. I never realized that in the first couple pages of the book, God's talking to Abraham about circumcising his children and himself. And I'm thinking to myself, Holy Toledo, this has caught me off guard. I mean, here I am in the Bible, they're talking about circumcision. So why not start the Monday morning meeting off with a circumcision? Anyway.
Good for God is good for you.
So, in preparation for this, I was thinking back on all the Monday morning meetings I've been part of that I've held. I go back 38 years, 9 months of Monday morning meetings. And I only had about a 5.5-year period in there where someone else held them for me or with me. The kid's name is Tufan. What was interesting about Tufan is Tufan was an antagonistic person by nature. And he loved to rib people, and I could tell you that I never found that as an effective technique. I mean, I see these dads, I see these moms, I see these teachers, I see these coaches that rib the children they're around. And, eventually that can really play a toll on us. For me personally, I believe that if you were ribbed, growing, I hear you, brother.
We hear you go.
We hear you. I believe if you were ribbed growing up, that you could probably say that you've got a little bit of scar tissue or trauma there. So I've always been someone that has tried to be more instrumental in your life, more of a protagonist in your life than an antagonist. I don't like to be someone that's pulling on your shirt tail. I'd rather be someone, out front of you, tugging on you on your shirt that way. So I thought long and hard about what to speak about this morning. And I can tell you all that in the process of getting ready for this morning, I ran into something that I did not know existed. And it's very common, by the way. We all go there. There's that saying that we see quoted out there, whether it was Rumi or a Chinese or a Japanese proverb or a proverb, or a saying or a quote, by just some human being out there regarding you start on the way and the way appears. Think about that for a moment. You start on the way and the way appears. Now, this would be counterproductive to many of the business people I know. most of the business people I know, including this gentleman that I've really joined up with after 30 years, most people plan almost everything they're going to do. And I tell you, for me personally, I planned very little. What I really wanted to do this morning was just go in a certain direction by starting in that direction and just let myself be naturally taken there. And so few people, I mean, you watch Robin Williams, you know, you watch these comedians, Chris Rock, Eddie Murphy, all the good ones, Jerry Seinfeld. What they have is a preordained group of thoughts, group of jokes. And it's amazing how they can memorize these jokes. I've heard them talk about it, many of them behind the scenes, about how they'll work on this in these small clubs for months, a year, 2 years, 3 years in advance before they go out on tour. And they go through this show, or they go on a show like HBO and they go through this show for 2 or 3 hours. For me personally, what I've found with this position you're in, this position I'm in, is that you've got to be able to bob and weave. It's not possible for you to get on the phone. It's not possible for you to get in front of a banker. It's not possible for you to get in front of Craigslist or any other piece of advertisement with a preordained speech. It won't go your way. You have to be able to flow with the energy at hand. Sometimes it stops, sometimes it has momentum, sometimes it's wavy, sometimes it's calm. And so for me over the years, what I found was that I do everything I can not to go into something with a preordained mindset. So a great example of this is, whether it be God, the universe, yourself, whatever, you come up with an idea, like an idea that says, turn here. You know, so often we go by where we're supposed to turn, and then we go back, and then we turn. Or we question the voice that we hear, that narrative in our head. Should I have turned? Then you say to yourself, like I do, God, I should turn. You know, I don't have time right now, or I'll do that later. Or, okay, yeah, let me find a spot to turn around. You know, I could tell you that one of the greatest representations of my life, John Baranaga and I, our freshman year at Rex Putnam High School in Milwaukee, Oregon, we would get at one end of the freshman hallway and we would run through it. And naturally, we would do this and have to work our way around the people. And we called it our O.J. Simpson moment. Both of us were running backs. I was a fullback. He was a slot back. And what's interesting is how you can actually make these moves that you don't know are coming, with your end goal of being at the other end. And this happens every day in our lives, where we intend to go do that or this, and we end up elsewhere. So as I'm cruising the internet, I come across what they call the Gollwitzer substitution, Gollwitzer. Again, Gollwitzer, the Gallwitzer substitution. And what I found is I live in this world, and I meet very, 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 very few people that live in this world. Last week, I spoke about this very subject matter, but I didn't know that what I was describing was a Gallwitzer substitution. I've been teaching about this for over 38 years. Not once has anybody ever told me what you're talking about is the Gallwitzer substitution. If this, then that. For me, personally, I could tell all of you that most people arrive on this platform in this industry, and there's so much dopamine, and there's so many endorphins that are released that we think we're done. Think about that. I talked about it last week. That is the whole premise of the Gallwitzer substitution. We arrive on a platform like this because we're looking for something next, something to do, something to be part of, a job or a business opportunity. And then when we find it, this dopamine, these endorphins are released, and there's a euphoria that takes place. Now, unfortunately, the human body will say at that point that you and I have accomplished our goal. And that is not the case. Now, I speak about short-term goals, medium-term goals, and long-term goals. For me personally, finding what I'm going to do next is a short-term goal. Doing it after I've found it is a medium-term goal. And then stopping doing it after having done it for a while is a long-term goal having been met. So few of us do not recognize that we are achieving goals all day long. So few people I've met in my life, when I get one-on-one with them, realize they're achieving goals all day long. Just getting on this phone call is a goal achieved. But you could never get on this call had you not made it a goal, had you not put a plan in place for that goal, had you not asked yourself a question, do you believe in the plan? Had you not put the plan in action? And if you deviated, you put the plan back in action. But more than anything, what we don't do is we don't celebrate having achieved our goal. Or we see people celebrating all the time. They gamble. They buy things on credit. They drink. They use drugs. Just think of all the things that anesthetize us. And I'm convinced that one of the number one reasons why we use these methods of anesthetic is because our long-term goals are driving us insane. Too many of us that I've been around in this industry and the mortgage industry and the stock brokerage industry, which are all very similar in regards to the type of people that are drawn to them, are drawn to these gold rushes, never realizing that arriving doesn't mean a damn thing. Arriving at the Klondike Gold Rush does not mean a thing. Not at all. The meaning for you and I, when we left New York City, when we left Ireland, when we left Africa, when we left Scotland, when we left Norway, when my dad's family left Norway, when my mom's family left Ukraine, wasn't to get to America only. That was not their goal. Their goal was to get to America and make a better life for themselves. So there's got to be a division between the beginning, the middle, and the end. And you've got to be aware of it. You know, again and again and again, I get emails. I must have 500 emails this morning from people across the nation, in Canada, Northern Mexico, Japan, Australia, Saudi Arabia, India. The list goes on, of people asking me, what should I do next? How should I do this? You know, I did everything I could to lay out how I did this. The only reason I did that, not once did I say to you, this is the only way to do this, but I could tell you this, that you can't take a Toyota key for a Toyota Camry and put it in my F-350 Ford and have it work. So what I found, not through just me, but through others in this industry and the mortgage industry and the stock brokerage industry, was there's only so many ways to skin this cat. The redundant nature of things like Craigslist can drive us insane. The redundant nature of walking into a bank can drive us insane. The redundant nature of calling business owners on the phone can drive us insane. I don't like redundancy. So I wrote in our blog how I became the top producer in the industry. And I did it by not getting stuck in that conveyor belt world of sitting at Craigslist all day. It's an endless hell. I hate Craigslist with a passion. I hate going to banks with a passion. I hate telemarketing with a passion. I would rather eat chocolate than eat broccoli. I would rather eat chocolate than eat carrots. I would rather eat chocolate than eat onions. I would rather eat chocolate than eat potatoes. I am no different than most kids. I would rather eat my dessert before I ate my main course. So as I was maturing in my late teens, early 20s, with my pastor and my psychiatrist, I started to realize I've got to put chores together for myself. Like my mom put together for us kids growing up. And then what I got to do is I've got to feel that sense of freedom, that euphoria after I took out the garbage, after I raked the leaves, after I mowed the lawn, after I did the gutters, after I cleaned the garage, after I cleaned the car, after I cleaned the house with them, after I did the dishes, after I cleaned my bedroom. There was a sense of euphoria. If this, then that. It's a very simple formula. So what I realized was I had to endure to be part of endurance. There's nothing on earth I hate more than these Monday morning meetings. I have a massive amount of weight on my shoulder. What if I say the wrong thing? What if I accidentally slip in a fuck? What if I accidentally slip in a racist word or a sexist word or an anti-gay or anti-liberal or anti-conservative comment? I mean, everywhere we look right now, we see people that are getting this barrage of pick. I watched this bitch yesterday attack Donald Trump in a relentless manner. This, whether you hate him or not, man has been attacked more than any human being I've ever seen in my entire life. Maybe you've seen it with others. I haven't. Like him or not. Like him or not. Like you or not, Teresa. Like you or not, Mark Lauber. Like you or not, Vadim or Ricardo or Darius or Keith. You others. I could not imagine taking my wallet of time and spending that time all day fucking with you, Mark, fucking with you, buddy, fucking with you, Teresa. I can only fuck with you for so long before I become the byproduct of having fucked with you. And I will be toxic by nature. I see this toxic natured group of beings surrounding me all over America. I have never in my life seen so many people being sidetracked. I mean, folks, if you want to talk about Satan, let's go there for a moment and let's understand one another. You have things to do today. And if you're on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or any other piece of ad medium out there, and you're complaining, you're pick at people's posts, you got mental issues. I don't know what else to say. I read this morning that Zuckerberg is somebody that says he won't let his own family members on Facebook. And in addition, places a piece of tape over the camera. I read where Bill Gates would not let his own children get on the World Wide Web till they were 15 years old. The list went on. Rockefeller talking about how he wouldn't allow his children to take modern medicine. Yet he played such a large role in petroleum-based medicine by buying up all the pharmacies. No, he bought up all the homeopathic remedy storefronts and he made pharmacies. You and I are the byproduct of a society that has created an environment where there are so many of us that don't know what to do next. Again and again and again and again, I meet people that don't know what to do next. All you've got to do is go back and listen to my 4 recordings. And that's how you do this industry. I even talk about beaver in there. And the fact that you cannot trap beaver in a parking lot. Unless, of course, it's got a body of water in it and some plant life around it. And the beaver thinks she can dam it up or she can dam it up. But, you certainly wouldn't use this forearm strengthener to trap beaver. You certainly would not use this card holder right here that holds cards to trap beaver. These bands that I'm using for physical therapy for my shoulder, you would not use these to trap beaver. This plaque of my old man's from 1974, you would not use this to trap beaver. There is such a thing as a certain bait that you use to trap beaver. Again and again and again and again and again, I'm asked, how do I trap these business owners? How do I find these business owners? How do I market these business owners? But what I really hear more than anything is, can I have a push? Would you pull me? Call me. I want to talk. Talk is cheap. It is. Go back before there were ever any words. Darius and I joke about it. Can you do it? Go for it. Go for it.
Well, a series of grunts and pops and clicks and well, yeah, the good stuff.
Yeah. Let's hear it. Let's hear it. Let's hear it, man. Oh, we're not hearing it. No, we're not hearing it. Yeah, we joke about it all the time. Look, I'm not saying the right thing. I'm not saying the wrong thing. Unless, of course, you're judging me or you're picking. Pick. And then it could be wrong. What got me, Brett, was, 7 minutes in, you use the word fuck, or 1 minute in, you're talking about a circumcision. And look, you knew in a very short period when you got around me on those calls, those first 4 days, that I'm a damn weirdo. I am a weird guy. I am a different type of being. I don't want to be you. I want to be me. I spent years trying to be someone else. And I could tell you that I have something that a lot of people want. Donald Trump has something a lot of people want. Joe Biden had something a lot of people wanted. Bill Clinton had something a lot of people wanted. Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, Simone Biles. The list goes on and on. Nadia Comaneci, when we go back to the early 80s, mid 80s, these women, these men have something people wanted at that time or still want to this day. I was talking to someone yesterday and she was telling me, I want to blow up. I want to be an influencer. She said, how would you recommend I do that? I said, well, what you have to do is you have to do the things that others are unwilling to do. What do you mean by that? I said, well, shit, success leaves clues, according to Anthony Robbins. But don't ever forget, Brett Martin said, so does failure. If it's not working for you, you're doing something wrong. You're using the wrong bait. You're using a card holder to sell merchant cash advances. You know, you're using crystals to sell merchant cash advances. You're using carvings of ducks to sell merchant cash advances. You're using cribbage boards to sell merchant cash advances. Who would do such a thing? Who would do such a thing? There's only so many ways to skin this cat. Our problem is that most of us, since we've arrived on this platform, we've arrived in this industry, think that via osmosis, this stuff is going to come to us. And it doesn't happen that way. Right, a national sales manager I was talking to this morning, and he's like, at best, my results are mediocre. I'm like, fuck, Paul. You just sent your fucking staff the Monday morning meeting email at 7:37 a.m. West Coast time. The meeting is in 23 minutes. You just sent your team a welcome letter, and it's Monday morning. They graduated on Friday. What were you doing on Friday? What were you doing on Saturday? What were you doing on Sunday? What were you doing at 4:30 this morning, as opposed to 7:30 a.m. this morning when you sent it out? Well, I had a lot going on with family. I did too, Paul. Well, get to talking pretty soon. He's like, well, I've been tired. I am too. So I went over my day with him yesterday, to include last night at 1:38 a.m. West Coast time, putting together the final list for Grant's team of people that are going to be on the Monday morning call here in an hour for the new class. I've never, ever, once, ever, even throughout my cancer, stopped running my ads to get people like you to come onto the platform since September of 2009. Dogs, deaths, families, deaths, friends, deaths, cancer, car wrecks, rain, lightning, thunder, electricity out, no internet. The list is just about endless. It didn't matter if I was in British Columbia golfing or Yellowstone fly fishing. I got my ass to somewhere where I could run the ads. I don't run the ads on Monday. I don't run the ads on Tuesday. I don't run the ads on Wednesday. I don't run the ads on Thursday. I don't run them on Friday. I run them on Saturday morning early, Friday night late, like clockwork. And they work. You're here. You're here because they work. and I work them again and 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 again. And I hate them. I hate them with a passion. So what is it that successful people do that people who are not successful do? We do the things that people who are not successful don't do. That's the only difference. There is no difference between me and you, other than I run these ads. No difference in me and you when it comes to merchant cash advances, other than I ran ads on Craigslist. I went into banks. I went door to door to business owners. You know, I'm reminded again and again and again by people why they can't do something. You know, I remember putting a suggestion box up on the wall at Willamette Mortgage Services Incorporated in Willamette, Oregon, about 1991. And I remember within a week, we went from never having a suggestion box to me being an idiot and making a larger suggestion box, because the suggestion box I'd hung on the wall was too small. After about 3 months, I came into a Monday morning meeting. I had this gigantic box, twice the size of a shoebox, and I poured them all on the boat tail table. There's about 90 people in the meeting in this conference room. And I said, look at what you're doing all day. Go open your own fucking company. Go open your own fucking company. I mean, you obviously have the formula for it. Mine's wrong. What are you doing here? Every one of you. And I picked them up and I started reading them. I didn't mention any names. But I mean, folks, I had people complaining about the toilet paper. 2-ply versus 1-ply. I mean, you laugh, Mark. You laugh. You can't believe. I had people telling me that we shouldn't have so many windows. I had people telling me I should buy shades for the windows. I had people telling me that we should be in a smaller building. I had people telling me that I shouldn't have a designated parking spot. I mean, I had as many suggestions as we did people in the room, and then some. Many of the people had put down 10, 15, 20 suggestions over the course of a week. 25 suggestions, 30 suggestions. In my mind, I was looking at some of them and thinking to myself, fuck, this person's written over 500 words. This person's written over 1,000 words. I could not imagine sitting somewhere and telling Larry at Larry's Sporting Goods how to run his gun department that I worked in. I couldn't imagine writing UPS in Ohio from Tualatin, Oregon, where I lived, and telling them suggestively how to run their company when I was working there as a driver. I mean, I couldn't in my wildest dreams imagine this, but I was surrounded by it. I was surrounded by this at Larry's Sporting Goods, at Fred Meyer Warehouse, which was run under a union. I was surrounded by this at UPS. This is the reason why I left corporate America and said, fuck you, I'm out of here. Was because again and again and again and again and again and again, I heard people bitching and moaning. I remember being at Fred Meyer Warehouse And at 1 minute before midnight on our swing shift, Mike Lexington would come over the intercom and he would tell us how many hours of overtime we had to work that night or not. I was in my 4th year. I was going to college full time. About a year prior, about 25 guys took me in a restroom and beat the living shit out of me because my time study was too efficient. And I was not a lifer like them, and they wanted me to work slower. So Mike comes over this intercom. I'm in the middle of a pick on my Barrett, these forklifts you drive. I've got all these items. I've got this anxiety that has welled up inside of me that I just can't take. I can't take another second of it. And I just stopped. And if you've ever been in a Fred Meyer warehouse, my God, folks, they're so big. They're so large. It's like an airport hangar. I'm at one end. I got to walk all the way to the other. But the closer I got to his desk, the stronger I got. The faster my gait, the faster my steps. And I walked up to him and I said, I quit. I'm done. And he's like, give me a minute. He's like, there is no talking about it. It's over. I was done before I ever came up here. I've been done for a hell of a long time. I was just trying to be like them. But what's interesting is they won't accept me. They don't like me. They don't like me for one reason and one reason only, and that's because I'm doing my fucking job, and they're not. They talked. This is back when you could smoke at work. They'd sit around, smoke cigarettes, chew their tobacco. They would actually, God is my witness, hide behind boxes. They had little areas, cubby holes. And they introduced me to these. And I felt like I was part of a club that was insane. They wanted 2 hours overtime. They wanted 3 hours overtime because they got time and a half. I wanted to go home. I had school in the morning. I never had a job in my life where I said to myself, I want to stay longer so I can get paid more. It makes no sense to me. So I come across a job called United Parcel Service. And of all things, you're not going to believe this, Keith, Vadim, Ricardo, Mark, Buddy, Teresa, Ted, the rest of you, listen to me. They pay you for going fast. They pay you for being efficient. I was making 3 to 5 times what the guys around me were making out at the Tualatin Hub. The number one guy was me, again and again and again. And again and again and again, they would send at least one, if not 2 people in my truck to see what was I doing different. And they'd put me in the meetings. What are you doing different? I didn't know what I was doing different. I didn't know. I could tell you, I didn't know till years after I'd quit. And I started to notice these UPS drivers. Some of them hustle, and some of them take their time. Like a postal service worker, you see them parked somewhere and they're eating their lunch. That's not the way I rolled, as my kids would say. I ate my lunch. It would sit on the dash, which wasn't much of a dash, in its plastic bag. I'd take a bite or two out of my sandwich as I was rolling down the road. to the next stop. And I would progressively eat that lunch over X amount of time as I was driving. Because if I got the vehicle into the hub an hour early, I got an hour overtime plus my normal pay. If I got the vehicle into the hub 2 hours early, I got my 2 hours normal time and I got 2 hours overtime. If I got the vehicle into the hub 3 hours early, I got my vehicle, or I got 3 hours regular pay and 3 hours overtime. And you do the math on this, it's like capital gains. It's like interest. After a while, it's like Warren Buffett says, you got to get a slide rule out to calculate it. Again and again and again, my checks were representative of one thing and one thing only, and that was that I was doing my job. I wasn't running. I wasn't sprinting. I'm not that insane. But what was going on around me all throughout the entire nation was a large group of people who didn't give a fuck. Why do these companies go out of business? I mean, think about it. Why did AIG go out of business? I know why these companies go out of business. From my perspective, what happens with a company that large is not just one person was on the take, but a tremendous amount of people were on the take. And I don't just mean dipping into the coffers and taking money. They were fucking around. They had tenure. My wife sees it all the time in the school district. These are the laziest fucking people on the face of the planet, 9 out of 10. That's why it's so simple to be a superstar teacher, because so many others are pieces of shit. I mean, I can only give you the names of about 7 to 10 total teachers in my entire life, maybe less. The rest didn't mean a thing to me. I can only give you the names to 5 people or less that are coaches. The rest didn't mean a thing to me. You're no different than I am. I'm no different than you are. Why do these people leave an impact on our lives? Well, they were instrumental in our lives. Or they were fuckers. But either way, they left an impression on us, an indelible impression that is surreal. For real. For me personally, all I've ever wanted out of my life is I've wanted to be proud of what I did today. I wanted to be in a situation where I could feel that euphoria for having done what I was supposed to do and then celebrating what I did. It's a very simple formula. Do something that I don't want to do and celebrate having done it. You know, I had a laugh the other day. I was talking to this kid and I reached here and I gave him one of my brand new fly rods. Brand new. Reached in here. I got about 150 of them. This is a custom rod. This is my 2-weight. This is my baby called the Epiphany. And I can tell you what, folks, I gave this kid the rod next door when he was visiting his dad, 22 years old. And the reason I did it was because I wanted him to feel what it felt like when I was given something by an old man when I was younger. Last night, about 7 o'clock, my phone started going off with texts. And I had spent probably an hour with him in the front yard, teaching him how to cast. Took his arm, got in behind him, taught him how to cast. And he had gone up to the upper rogue above the dam, above the lake. And he had sent me a series of photos of brown trout he had caught. And then I got a phone call, and he was crying, and he said, I don't know what to say. You've changed my life. I've been fishing my whole life, but you're absolutely right. Fly fishing is an addiction. I'm now addicted. Because I told him, don't get started. Whatever you do, don't get started, because this is heroin. You can't get off of it. And like he said, he goes 3 or 4 different times, I'm addicted. It's a sickness now. It's in me. It's exactly what you said, Brett. I feel like I've mainlined it. Well, folks, metaphorically speaking, this could have been knitting needles. This could have been a unicycle. This could have been a bicycle. It could have been crochet needles. It could have been, a hairdryer, for Christ's sake. You and I get given these things throughout our lives by someone older than us that thinks that you and I may benefit from them. And we all had those growing up. And I said to myself at the time, I'm like, God, I don't want to part with this rod. I don't want to part with this rod. And there I am in the front yard. He's got his brand new truck. It's used. His first vehicle he's ever bought on payments that he's showing me. This is how it all started. And then I said to myself, it's not that you don't want to part with the rod so much as it is you don't want to part with the feelings associated with the rod. You having bought it, you having had plans for it. And the funny part about it is, I'm getting older now. I don't use these rods like I once did. I just don't. There was a time, even when I was broke, where I went fly fishing. But now more than ever, I realize that one of the reasons why I don't go fly fishing is I've been shot at. My shoulder was destroyed. My bicep was ripped from the bone. I not only dislocated one hip on a trip one time, but on a second trip, I dislocated another hip. I've had 5 concussions on the rocks because they're slippery as snot. I can go on and on and on and on with the injuries I've sustained. I've been injured in the back country so many times that I can't count them. There's a reason why I don't go as much anymore, especially alone. It reminds me of the last moments of A River Runs Through It when that old man's in the canyon. And he's loading up that fly, and Robert Redford's voice is narrating. I am coming in to the winter of my life. I am an old man now. When I was a kid, when I looked at guys that were my age, I considered them old. That doesn't mean I can't live the rest of my life with gusto. But I can tell you all, I can't lift as heavy a weight. I can't drive for as many hours as I did when I was 20 or 30. I can't eat like I used to. I can't have sex like I used to. Again and again and again and again and again, I am reminded of my age. But one thing that has not left me is my heart, my will to go on, my need to endure, to create endurance I don't know where I'd be after having gone through cancer had I not been willing to say, I want to be as close to what I was before I had cancer, physically and mentally, as I can possibly be when this is all over. I never once in my wildest dreams thought that cancer was going to be such a worthy opponent. Cancer is one of the most worthy opponents you'll ever face. It kills people every single day of breast cancer, HPV cancer I had, melanoma. These cancers, brain cancer, pancreatic cancer, death is all around us. And again and again and again and again and again, I get these reminders. Eat this, don't eat that. Read this, don't read that. Think this, don't think that. I have more suggestions about cancer than I do about how to advertise. It's amazing to me what we spend our time doing all day, what we spend our time doing all day. We're spending it. We peel it off, we spend 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 it. Time spent, gone. We can't have yesterday back. And why in the hell do you think for one moment that if you do exactly what you did yesterday, today, that it's going to be any different than it was? I mean, we all know the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. But again and again and again and again, metaphorically speaking, I watch, I listen to people tell me how they load their wheelbarrow up every day with the same exact shit and run right down that same rut, expecting it to work out differently. So my recommendation to you is sleep on the other side of the bed and build a new rut. But so often I have people who say to me when I'm working with them one-on-one, my wife would never allow that. My partner would never allow that. My husband would never allow that. I don't know what to tell you. Go sleep on the couch. Go sleep on the dinner table. Do something so abnormal. Go sleep on the coffee table. Do something so abnormal that when you wake up, you find yourself disoriented. Then and only then will you see life from a different angle. You cannot serve your life from the same angle every day, in the same manner every day, expecting different results. It doesn't work. So if Craigslist isn't working for you, stop doing it. If going to banks isn't working for you, stop doing it. If this industry isn't working for you, stop doing it. I've told so many people over the years that you need to go take a 9-to-5 job. You need to go punch a time clock. You know, folks, there's a certain type of person that is attracted to this type of an industry, just like real estate. Almost 100% of all realtors don't close any business throughout the year. My dad was a realtor. I assisted my dad. I was in his office with his partners, and I would look at the data that was being typed out again and again and again and again. I would go to their meetings for month end where they handed out these awards again and again and again. And what I found again and again and again and again and again, it was the same fucking women. It was the same fucking men who won every month. How did the people survive that didn't close any business? It was a mystery to me until one day I was mature enough to understand they had a husband or a wife or a partner that was making up for them having not made a thing. Or they came from a family where they had money, like a trust fund, and so they didn't need to make anything. They were all right. For me personally, my life has always been about whether I'm the gazelle or the lion. Because if the lion doesn't eat the gazelle today, he or she goes hungry. And if the gazelle gets eaten today by the lion, he or she dies. I got to eat. I got to eat. And I live in a world where so few people live their life that way. Because we do have trust funds. We do have husbands or wives or partners that bring in money. We do have disability. We do have refrigeration and refrigerators that allow us to take the day off or the week off because they're full of food, cabinets full of food, processed food that will last forever. And we don't have to worry about it like our forefathers did. We're surrounded by reasons not to be successful at what we want to be successful at. And we're surrounded by reasons to be successful at what we want to be successful at. Not a question of whether or not it's available to us or not. It's a question of, are we going to be part of it? That's it. Most people I meet really don't want the responsibility associated with making a lot of money. I've had people over the years say to me, 30 grand a year is enough. 50 grand a year is enough. 70 grand a year is enough. For me personally, I've never found a cap on how much I want to make a year. I never have. I never found a cap on how much I want to make in this lifetime. Now more than ever, I find myself having gone liquid with a large amount of my estate, doing things I wanted to do years ago with this money if I ever got here. So again and again and again, I'm having my dance surrounding my long-term goals having been achieved financially speaking. And I can tell you folks, it's not any different than having danced after taking out the garbage and being set free to go out and play with my friends during the summer in 1969 as an 8-year-old. I'm free. I did the dishes. My chores are done. The Bagleys, the Hermos, and the Westenbergs are out playing. I get to go out and play. I'm free. But again and again and again, I would look at 5110 Southeast Alderway in Milwaukee, Oregon, where I was born. And I would watch my older brother and my younger brother arrive late to the game. Sometimes 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours later. When they came out, more often than not, they looked like they were defeated. They made a mountain out of a molehill. Doing the dishes was a bitch for them. Taking out the garbage was a bitch for them. Cleaning up the dog poop in the backyard of our hunting dog named Star was a bitch for them. Raking the leaves was a bitch for them. Doing the gutters was a bitch for them. It was a bitch for me too. But what it was what my psychiatrist would go on to teach me in my late teens was it was a means to an end. It was a means to an end. I'd never heard it said till Bob Mile taught me this down off Northwest Flanders, Robert Mile. And when the light bulb went on, it's like reading this morning regarding what I was talking about earlier, and that is the Gallwitzer substitution. What I found is there's people that actually have written books about a means to an end. You can actually buy a book, multiple books, countless books on a means to an end. The long and the short of it is this. There's times where you and I have to suffer in order for you and I to be able to celebrate. And there are so few people willing to indulge the suffering, to grasp it and be part of it. So few people. I can't live your life. I can't. I can't tell you how to live your life, nor would I dare to, quite frankly. I don't even know half the time if I'm living my life right for others around me. I'm living my life right for me. I have very few friends, which tells me a lot about myself. I have very few friends, which tells me a lot about myself. I'm somebody that is an acquired taste. You're somebody that is an acquired taste. The more I find myself winning, the more I find myself being judged. You know, it's that saying about the guy or gal on the sideline that's talking about the people in the game and judging them. There are so many people out there judging us that it's hard for us not to judge ourselves. So my recommendation to you is forget about yesterday, it's over. Forget about last week, it's over. Last month, last year, they're over. 10 years ago, it's over. Today is a new day. You've been given this day. And it is a present. We are in the present moment. It is a present. And what you do with this present time will mean everything to you tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, in the next 10 years. I mentioned last week, I mentioned it again here. You eat an elephant one bite at a time. So that's what you do. You start in one bite at a time. That's what you do. But one thing's for certain, you go to the table and you eat that one bite. That's what I wrote about in that blog that I was leading to earlier, that I didn't elaborate on. How I became the top producer was a dog's death, a human death, a leaky pipe in one of my apartment complexes, a broken window, a broken toe, a flat tire, tires that needed to be rotated. A new canopy comes in, your new travel trailer comes in, you get your new lawnmower, you get that new barbecue, a child's recital, a grandchild's graduation, a wife who divorces you, a husband who divorces you, a partner who leaves you. These things happen every day, all day. It's not a question of whether or not they will or they won't, as much as it is, what are you going to do when it transpires? I can't begin to tell you how many employees I've had over the years that have said to me, I have a funeral at 11 today. I'd like to take the rest of the day off. I have a doctor's appointment today at 9:30. I'd like to take the rest of the day off. I have met so many people who want to take the rest of the day off. I'll close by saying this. When I was about 20 years old, I went to AA at the Grotto in Portland, Oregon. If you look up the Grotto, it's an amazing place in Portland, Oregon. And I met with my pastor about a week later, and I told him I'm starting to go to AA. And he said, you're not an alcoholic. Come to me in 10 to 15 years, and I'll tell you whether you're an alcoholic or not. You're just a normal kid doing what kids do at your age. He goes, I'll make a suggestion. Obviously, I'm open to suggestions, for God's sakes. Other than God, I didn't respect anybody more than Lloyd Budrow of Milwaukee Lutheran Church. He says, here's my suggestion. I want you to plan your demise. Like, what the fuck does that mean? And he's writing on a gigantic blackboard he has. It's a green board, green slate in his office. And he underlines it. Plan your demise. He goes, I work with people who do cocaine, heroin, drink, gamble, use porn. The list goes on and on. And what I say to him is, there's a time for it, and there's a time not for it. He says, do your chores, what you call chores, which is your work, and come home and have your beer. Don't drink at work. Like, what a concept. Then he says, and once you get the hang of that, now limit it to Friday nights and Saturday nights so it doesn't affect your work week. What a concept. Plan your demise. After a while, it became apparent to me I was in charge. It was no more in charge of me than the man in the moon. You're in charge. It's not anyone else's fault but your own. I don't care whether you say your mom or your dad are the ones who force you to be like this. You don't have to continue to be like that. I don't care whether you were molested like me in the 3rd or 4th grade. You don't have to be the byproduct of that anymore. You can let go of it, or you can live with it, own it, be part of it, and say, it's part of my biography. That's all. It's a chapter in my book, and the front cover reads Brett Martin, and there's 100 chapters, 200 chapters, whatever. You're in charge of your life. I'm not. And I can tell you right now, this industry is full of people trying to figure out where to go, what to say, how to say it, what time of day to do it. The list goes on. Best thing to do is put your line in the water. My old man used to say to me all the time, you can't catch fish unless you get your line in the water. And Scott Leese and I and Mike Weaver and Mark Noble and John Baranaga, my older brother, my little brother, would again and again and again wonder why my old man was always catching more fish than us. Then one day in my late teens, it dawned on me as I was sitting on the bank watching him, the pouring down rain on the Clatskanie River. I'm on the bank. He's fishing. I'm screwing around with a spool of line because I've got a backlash. He's fishing. I'm fooling around at the truck trying to get warm. He's fishing. I'm eating. He's fishing. The man would fish 3 to 5 to 10 to 15 times more than I would. He had a right to catch more fish than me. So what happened to me over the years was I realized that I'm going to have to teach myself how to keep my rod in the water. It's the reason why I come to these Monday morning meetings. Because in my mind, if I'm not going to do this, who is? And I've put people like Tufan in charge of it before, and the meetings diminish. They diminish. And I would get notes. He's an asshole. He's curt. You know, he ribs me. He makes fun of me. He makes fun of her every week. And pretty soon I had to take the keys from the car. And what did he do? He quit. He quit. He went over, he started Premier Mortgage, and he was bankrupt 14 months later and back at our company in the 15th month. Came in with his tail between his legs. I'm like, dude, you don't have to do that with me. Get busy. Just understand you won't be holding Monday morning meetings. That's all. Grateful to have his job back. You know, folks, you are the problem. You are the solution to the problem. And therein lies the problem. I am the problem. I am the solution to the problem. And therein lies the problem. I had a guy say to me last week, you know what, Brett? You need to let go and let God. Hey, listen to me. I could tell all of you something. God has never done a damn thing for me till I put one foot forward, metaphorically speaking. I never sat and said, okay, I'm going to wait till God comes and gets me and puts me in motion before I move. Got to tell you, I have a suspicion that's not going to work out for me. I was raised under the mindset that the Lord helps those that help themselves. Now that's bastardized, obviously. We can elaborate on that. But that's a kid's point of view. I can't begin to tell you how many people come onto this platform and don't help themselves. I don't know why. And quite frankly, I don't care. I do my best to work with those that are engaged day to day. But it's funny how I'll get a phone call out of the blue or an email out of the blue, call me. And it's like, I haven't heard from you in 3.5 months. And all of a sudden, out of the blue, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? You're going to be a vampire, try and suck out of my main vein here and get some of me on you? For what? So I can watch you peter out like a star, a shooting star. And the handwriting's on the wall. You're in or you're out. It's that simple. And I don't like being around sometimers. I mean, you would never marry a sometimer. Hell, you never want to raise a sometimer. So watch yourself in the event you're a sometimer. But if you're the type of sometimer that I am, where sometimes you go over here to a funeral, but then you come back to work. Sometimes you go to a doctor's appointment, but you go back to work. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I think it's actually better for you to do that, to live in that variety, because it keeps you in a situation where you're longing for more, rather than sitting there wishing you could get up and quit for the day. Get up and quit. Go take a break. But for God's sakes, whatever you do, stop complaining about the opportunity that you wanted to be part of. And if for some reason you're no longer part of something you want to be part of, then get out. Why would you walk around with a piece of gravel in the heel of your shoe? If this is not for you, hit the road. If this is for you, then dig in and take action a little bit each day, to the point where one day you're putting in a full day. So I see you out there on the battlefield. Thanks for joining us all today. Bye-bye now. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye. Go get
Thanks,
it.
Brett.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Brett.
Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Brett.
Thank
You have a
you.
wonderful day.
You bet. Bye-bye, everyone. Go get them. Good day. Peace. Have a wonderful
Thanks,
day.
Brett. Have a good
Thank
one.
you. Bye, Jeff. Bye-bye now. Peace.